So, when you think of Naruto and Sasuke, what comes to mind? Probably one of the greatest rivalries in all of fiction, right? But what if their epic conflict was about way more than just power, or even friendship? What if it's actually a deep philosophical story about two totally opposite paths that somehow lead to the exact same place? Okay, let's really get into this. I mean, right from the jump, their journeys are set up as this perfect polarity. You've got Naruto, who's basically the sun, right? He's all about connection, pulling people in, forgiveness. That's the solar path. And then there's Sasuke. He's the moon. His path is all about isolation, confrontation, deliberately pushing people away. That's the lunar journey. You really couldn't find two more opposite ways of moving through the world. And yet, and this is really the key to the whole thing, both of these paths, the light and the shadow, they end up at the exact same destination, a really profound state of enlightenment and balance. It's like the story is telling us, hey, there isn't just one right way to wake up. There are just different journeys to the same ultimate truth.
Okay, but that's the big question, isn't it? Naruto's path of light. Yeah, we get that. It makes sense. But Sasuke's journey? That's a lot tougher to wrap your head around. I mean, how can isolation, vengeance, and just pure suffering, how can that possibly lead to wisdom? Well, to get it, we have to stop looking at his path as just a string of bad choices. We have to see it for what it is, a series of brutal spiritual initiations.
So let's actually do that. Let's walk Sasuke's lunar journey. We're going to reframe his entire story not as a tragedy, but as a quest through the shadow, where every single trauma he goes through is actually a hidden lesson, pushing him closer and closer to a really unique kind of enlightenment.
And to do that, we have to start with the Sharingan. Look, it's not just a cool superpower, okay? The story pretty much presents it as a kind of consciousness technology. Think about it. It's a power that literally gets activated and evolves because of profound emotional trauma and loss. So in a very real sense, it's an enlightenment that is awakened through suffering.
And this evolution, it's not random. It has very clear stages. The first tomoe, that little comma in the eye, that shows up from the initial shock of a loss. The second one appears when you start processing that grief. The third, that's when you begin to master the pain that created it. And then the final stage, the mangekyou, that only awakens through a loss so ultimate it forces a complete death of the ego. His eyes literally get more powerful by processing pain.
Yeah, this idea of ego death is absolutely central to understanding Sasuke. His life is just this relentless series of traumas, right? But each one has a specific job to do, to violently strip away another layer of his identity, of who he thinks he is, until there's almost nothing left but pure, raw awareness. In fact, you can pinpoint 4 distinct deaths of Sasuke's ego throughout the story. First, when he's just 7 years old, the clan massacre completely destroys his identity as a beloved son and brother. Gone. Later, when he learns the truth about Itachi, his identity as a righteous avenger is killed. Then, at the Kage summit, his personal pain just explodes into this dark desire to destroy everything. And finally, in that last epic battle with Naruto, his entire revolutionary ideology is just shattered.
And you know, the lesson from that very first trauma, the massacre, it's really the foundation for his whole life. It's such a brutal teaching in non-attachment. It screams, everything you identify with, your family, your name, your purpose, it can all be taken from you in an instant. The only thing that's left, the only thing that really endures, is the consciousness that's just watching it all happen.
Okay, so that's the shadow path. Now let's flip the coin and turn to the sun. Naruto's journey is the complete inverse of Sasuke's. Seriously. Where Sasuke's path is all about subtraction, about letting go, Naruto's is all about addition, about bringing people and things together.
And this slide right here, this really nails the fundamental difference in how they operate. Sasuke uses the eye, his Sharingan. He sees through suffering with this incredible sharp discernment, cutting away anything that's false. But Naruto? He uses the heart. He doesn't try to see through the pain. He pulls it in, he embraces it, and he transforms it through connection and just radical inclusion.
You know, this is the real secret behind what fans lovingly call his talk no jutsu, right? That uncanny ability he has to connect with and somehow redeem his enemies. It's not just him giving naive speeches. No way. When Naruto confronts someone, he sees their pain and he truly recognizes it as his own. He's basically saying, I see you, your pain is my pain. And that act of transforming shared suffering into universal compassion, that's a perfect example of the bodhisattva ideal in action. And get this,
Think about his shadow clone jutsu for a second. During the war, he sends clones out to every single battlefield. That's not just a strategic power move, it's a physical manifestation of omnipresent compassion. It's like Avalokiteshvara, the Buddhist deity with 1,000 arms, literally reaching out to help every single person in distress all at the same time. It's incredible.
All right, so you've got the path of the sun and you've got the path of the moon. It's pretty clear that these two forces can't just exist separately forever, right? They have to collide to find their ultimate meaning. And of course, we all know where that final collision happens, the final valley.
And you have to understand, their rivalry isn't just personal, it's cosmic. They are the latest in a long line of reincarnations of two brothers, Indra, who believed in power and going it alone, and Ashura, who believed in love and connection. For literally centuries, these two souls have been trapped in this tragic, repeating cycle of conflict that always ends in destruction.
So how in the world did Naruto and Sasuke finally break this ancient curse? Here's the secret. It wasn't because one of them finally won. They broke the cycle because they fought until neither of them had an ounce of power left. They both lost their dominant arms, which forced them into this state of literal, physical interdependence. And in that moment, in that shared exhaustion and vulnerability, they finally accepted the other person as a necessary part of themselves.
Because in the end, it wasn't a Rasengan or a Chidori that defeated Sasuke's ideology. It was Naruto's unwavering, unconditional love. Sasuke's ego, an ego that was forged in the fire of trauma and had survived literally everything thrown at it, it just dissolved. It couldn't stand up to a love that simply refused to let him go no matter how deep into the darkness he went. So here's the crucial takeaway. This conflict that had raged for generations, it wasn't solved by one side crushing the other. True resolution, real balance, only came when both sides were able to look at each other and recognize the truth and the necessity in the other's point of view.
And what you get from that amazing moment of recognition, it's not a world where Naruto's way won. It's a world held in this perfect, dynamic balance by two forces that complete each other. It's the full completion of the yin and yang.
Just look at this. You can see how for every single one of Naruto's qualities, Sasuke provides the essential counterbalance. The sun needs the moon. The heart's connection needs the eye's discernment. Forgiveness is beautiful, but it needs accountability to be whole. You see? It's not about opposition. It's about a necessary polarity that creates a single, complete picture. And this incredible balance is perfectly reflected in the jobs they take on at the end. Naruto becomes the Hokage. He's the light at the center of the village, protecting it from the inside out. And Sasuke, he becomes the wandering shadow Hokage, protecting the entire world from the darkness out on the edges. You literally cannot have one without the other.
And that brings us to Sasuke's missing arm. He famously refuses to get a prosthetic. And you gotta understand, this isn't about pride. It is a conscious, spiritual practice. That empty sleeve is a constant, public reminder, not just to himself, but to the entire world, of the true, devastating cost of hatred. It's a lesson he carries with him and teaches every single day of his life. And that really is the final lesson of their incredible story. It was never about one being better than the other or one being right and the other being wrong. They are two essential forces, each with its own wisdom, each with its own crucial role to play. Because in the end, the sun and moon don't fight. They just take turns illuminating the same world.